Okay, so the line, sorry, I had moved it after I started hitting record. So line of best fit and trend line. So you're gonna notice this is a new page, and it's the same graph that we did a few videos ago. So it's the same graph as what you did on the scatter plot. So you can either redraw it on this new page, or you could go back to this page. I have some OCD tendencies, and I like redrawing it. So if you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause it, recopy this table, and then create this graph again. And I did the same thing for the other graph. So if you need to do that, you can go ahead and do so. Just leave enough room. There is going to be a definition that goes here, so make sure you leave enough room for that. So go ahead and pause it if you need to. And then I'm going to go ahead and start. So a line of best fit is exactly what it sounds like. It's going to be the line that best fits the data. A trend line is the same exact thing. It's the tendency of the graph, or the trend of the graph. If you look, all of this data is going up this way. Remember we talked about linear association. So since I could almost I can cover all of those points with my finger, this is pretty much making a line. So it would be linear association. It doesn't like make a V or make a U. So this would be a line. So pretty much making the line of best fit, or the trend line, is just making the line that shows those tendencies. So I'm going to go ahead and write this definition. So line of best fit and trend line. They're the same thing. You just need to be prepared, or be familiar with both. Sorry, I can't really talk, which is not good when you're creating a video. But, so it's an estimate. An estimate just means close, so I'll put close. For a line that best models a set of data. Okay, and something to, or a good point for this, is about half of the points are on each side of the trend line. So if we think about that, so if I draw my trend line, and I'm just going to draw an example. So if I'm going to draw my trend line, we want to get as many on the line as possible as we can. That's not showing it very well. But about half of them are going to be below, and a half of them are going to be above. So if there were, see how there's 2 that are slightly above? There are 2 or 3 that are slightly below. You can't, if there's an odd number, you can't have exactly half. But, so I'm going to go up here, and we're going to draw this trend line. So since you might not have a see-through ruler, those are my favorite to do these with, but I don't have one with me right now. So I'm going to use what I have. So I have an envelope. You could use a piece of mail or edge of a notebook or whatever. But the only problem is I can't see anything. Notice it's completely covered up. I have my ruler. Look at this ruler. I got it in 5th grade. Look, I want to show you this. I just thought this was funny. So it says Mary's and keep it that way. So I thought that was funny whenever I grabbed this ruler. But anyways, so I'm going to look at this, And notice a trend line, and I wish I had a piece of string, because that would be really helpful. So here, I found, hopefully, oh yeah, you can see that. So, this is just a hot glue stick. I'm using what I have, but I wouldn't want my trend line to look like this. I wouldn't want my trend line going up here and leaving a whole bunch of all these points out. So I'm going to just draw a quick sketch. So I see if I drew it this way, I would hit all 3 of those points. I would have 2 above and 3 below. So that seems pretty good. Again, you want to get as close as you can to as many points as possible. I could probably also actually make it more like that. And notice then it would be hitting even more points. So yeah, I think I'm going to do it that way. Kind of split between that one and try to get all of those points. So I'm going to go more like, oops, that was too low. And I would definitely use a pencil to start with. So we're going to try to get to all of those points. And that might be exactly what I just drew a minute ago. But so once I have that drawn, then I can use like an envelope or something to make it a more straight line. So I want it to go like that. And trend lines and lines of best fit are never going to be perfect. Again, the points are always going to be slightly different. So it's never going to be perfect. Notice I have 1, 2, 3 below. I have 1, 2, that one's really close, but it's still 3 above. So again, you want half above and half below. That's what this statement right down here means. Okay, so you're just trying to cut it in half. So you want half above, you want half below. And you can go ahead and extend that. I should have done that. Okay, so that is that trend line. Hopefully you can see it with that pencil. And now it's reflecting. But, alright, so that's that one. So now let's go back here to this one. This one's going to definitely be a little bit harder because of this clump right here. But again, I could go like this. I wouldn't want to go like this, and I wouldn't want to try to hit these ones. So you want to try to get as many as you possibly can, as close as you possibly can. So I would say probably more like that. There would be 3 below and 2 above. So I'm going to want my line somewhere in there. Oh, and see, I don't like that because, and this is why I do it like lightly drawing it first, because notice how many are below, and then notice there's a lot above. So I'm going to move it higher up. So I'm going to erase, sorry, hopefully that's not loud, me shaking the table. But, so I'm going to go more like that, I think. Because then I have 1, 2 below, 1, 2, 3, or sorry, 2 above and 3 below. So again, it's not a perfect science, which bothers some people, but we're doing the best we can, or you're just drawing it the best you can. So I'm going to draw my line. And even then it's got a little bit off, but so notice 1, 2 that are kind of far above, and then 1, 2 that are kind of far below. This one's pretty close, this one's pretty close, so you don't have to count those. When you're collecting data, on occasion you'll end up with what's called an outlier. Outlier. And that's when a point or piece of data is significantly above or below. Dang, my pen's going out. below the cluster of data. So if you notice, this point up here is an outlier. That one's an outlier because it's really far above. All of this data is pretty much right here, and then this one is outlying or quite a bit a ways away from the data. So that's why we call it an outlier. So usually disregard outliers when we're talking about data. That could be somebody collected their data wrong, or I don't know, if you're talking about posts per day and new subscribers, this is an outlier. There might have been a reason that this one day there was a significant difference between what the trend was, or how many they typically get, and how many they actually got on that day. So those are called outliers. I don't think there was an outlier. This one is probably pretty close, or this one actually is the most of an outlier, just because of how far it is away from the line. So you usually disregard outliers. You don't completely disregard, but they just kind of mess with the data sometimes. Okay, so trend line, line of best fit, it shouldn't hopefully be that hard. The hardest part, I think, on the assignments is that you have to graph all of the data again, and then you have to draw your trend line. And then there are some people like me that keep drawing it over and over again to find which one's the best one. But it's just an estimate. That's why we use this word. It's just as close as you can get it. Okay?